Hey guys, it's Bob here with the God Squad. Just wanted to do a little video today about something that happened to Moses that I thought was actually a little bit unfair. Alright, so if you want to flip with me to Deuteronomy chapter 3, you can pause it if you need to catch up. But I'm going to start reading here. Towards the end of Deuteronomy chapter 3, Moses is relaying to the people everything that they have done leading up to this point of them not being able to enter into the promised land. He goes over all the details of all the times that God provided for them and led them through a difficult situation, but the people still turned their backs on him. They still doubted him. They didn't put their trust in him. They feared man, or they feared the enemy more than they feared and trusted God. And Moses is relaying to them all these things and reminding them again. He's reminded them many times already, but he's reminding them again one last time of their downfalls when it comes to trusting God and the way that God had provided for them up to this point. And so Moses now comes before God, and he says, starting in verse 24, he says, "O Lord God, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do such works and mighty acts as yours? Let me, I pray, cross over and see the fair land that is beyond the Jordan, that good hill country in Lebanon." So Moses is pleading with God here, let me cross over, let me see the promised land, let me see it, let me be part of it. And the reason that he's pleading with God is because, if you remember, Moses sent 12 spies out to spy out the land. And when they all came back with reports, 10 of them had reports saying, the people there are too mighty for us, we won't be able to take it. Keep in mind, God had actually told them, go into the land and take it. The people came up with this idea on their own, well, let's send 12 spies. Let's see if we really can take it. So that was already their first sign of doubting God and not trusting him. There was 2 of the spies that came back. Do you remember who they were? It was Caleb and Joshua. Caleb and Joshua came back, and they were the only 2 spies that reported, we can take it. Let's trust God. We can enter in. We can take our enemies. And everyone else doubted God. So they decided that they wouldn't trust God. They would wait. So God became angry with them, and he said, nobody from this generation will enter the promised land except for the 2 who trusted that we could take the land. They trusted me, said God, and their families and their descendants along with them can enter in, but no one from the doubting generation. So Moses now, towards the end of the generation, comes before God. He says these things, I pray, let me cross over, let me see the land beyond the Jordan, the good hill country in Lebanon. But the Lord was angry with me on your account and would not listen to me. And the Lord said to me, enough, speak to me no more of this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah and lift up your eyes to the west and the north and south and east, and see it with your own eyes, for you shall not cross over the Jordan. But charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go across at the head of this people, and he will give them as an inheritance the land which you will see. So we reminded them in the valley opposite Bath Peor. So Moses comes before God. This part, it didn't sit well with me. I had to really ponder this and pray about it. He comes before God. Remember Moses, right? Led the Israelites out of Egypt through the desert. We look at Moses as one of the greatest men of faith, one of the greatest believers in all of time. In the Bible, everything that's ever been recorded, we look up to Moses. But yet God would not allow him to enter the promised land after all that he did. That didn't sit so well with me. So I started to think more about it, and I started to pray about it. And the conclusion that I came up with was this, and it's not really an answer, but it's more of a statement of faith. And it's this, and it's a question, is are you okay with doing God's work and not reaping the reward for yourself? Are you, as a believer of Jesus Christ, someone who says that you trust him and you put your faith and you put your hope in him, are you okay with doing God's work but not being able to be part of the result and reaping the reward at the end? Because if our heart truly does love God, it won't matter what the end looks like. What matters is the journey and trusting God in the meantime. What matters in the end is that God's name is glorified, not that we get to enjoy or appreciate something that we feel like we deserve. So going back to the word now and looking, after God says to Moses, go up to the top of Pisgah and look in every direction, and take it in, because you won't cross over what you see. But I want you to go and build up Joshua, encourage him, strengthen him, for he will be the one to take your place as leader and lead the people across the river into the promised land. Now Moses' response is key here, and it's why God chose Moses in the first place. Moses didn't say to God, why though, God? Please give me a better answer. Or now you're going to build up someone else in my place who is going to get to go over? Moses didn't argue with God, even though it seems unfair. I think all of us, when we read this, might think that seems unfair. But even though it might seem unfair, Moses' response from this point on was, yes, Father. Yes, God, I will do as you say, and I will do it joyfully. And he poured his heart, he poured his energy into building Joshua up and strengthening him. And he found a way to be excited about looking forward to the journey that Joshua and Caleb and the rest of the Israelites would have crossing over into the promised land. So he found a way in his heart to actually enjoy the reward that others would reap from his labor. So here's my final challenge question to us today, is two parts. The first part again is, are you okay with doing God's work here on earth, but maybe not seeing the reward or getting to reap the benefits of the work that you do? The second part of it is, are you okay with seeing others maybe even pass you up in the eyes of man? Are you okay with building them up and encouraging them up to the point that they will be strengthened to reap a reward from God, even though you might not see it? Now, I know these don't sound like the greatest thoughts and the greatest benefits of being a believer, but at the core of the heart of every man and every woman, every person who claims to be a believer, is this question: are you okay with doing God's work and making it about God and not yourself? Are you okay with this all being for God and for his glory? Or are you and I too interested in getting some glory out of it for ourselves? So I want us to be challenged by this question today. I want us to be challenged with these thoughts, you guys. And it really is a good way to look at this, because if we can look at the lowest moment of this story and still be okay with it, chances are is we're going to be okay with these moments in our own life too, where maybe things get really difficult in my life. Maybe I come under attack from the enemy, but I find a way to be okay with it because I know in the end God will get the glory. If my dad dies of cancer, if my grandparents pass away in their sleep tonight of old age, if something bad happens to someone in my family, or I get a really bad attack in my life, a personal attack from someone who I thought really loved me and cares about me, can I look at that situation and say, okay, God, have your way in this, because you get the glory in the end. You get the power from the word of the testimony in the end. Or do I look at that situation and think, why me, God? Why me? Why don't I get to have a little bit better life? Why does this moment have to happen to me? So go with that thought in your heart today and be challenged by it, because if you're not okay with God getting the glory, I would challenge you and question, are your motives and is your faith even placed in God? Or is your motives and your faith placed in the benefits of God and what you can get out of a relationship with God? So this was a tough video, but thanks for watching, guys. We're going to keep making more videos. We got Jarek on board. We're getting Sean involved. Jariah wants to get involved. Jesse's making videos. So be encouraged with these words, knowing that we don't bring this stuff up to challenge you, to make you feel discouraged, but we bring this stuff up to challenge you and sharpen your faith, to examine yourself and ourself. Are we truly in the faith? Are we truly trusting God and putting our hope in God? So, love you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.